Neuroplasticity is something of a broad term, but for our purposes it relates to the ability of the brain to rewire, relearn and strengthen the connections between important regions of the brain and nervous system. It used to be thought that this type of change could only take place during childhood, and that by the time we get to early adulthood, the structure of our brains were permanently set. This was bad news for mental health, of course, because the brain has always been the sole target of treatment. In the absence of any capacity for self-change and with the purpose of resolving poor mental health, it was once thought necessary to impose alterations upon the brain by way of surgery and chemistry. However, the relatively recent development of brain scanning in all its forms has shone a light into the brain and revealed that actually the brain has an innate ability to alter its structure throughout the lifetime. In other words, you absolutely can teach an old dog new tricks. Injured brains through trauma or stroke, for example, are able to create new pathways around damaged areas. They can hand over control of certain functions to healthy, undamaged areas, and they can relearn how to do things by strengthening existing healthy pathways. That's much better news for the treatment of mental health. Whenever we learn something new, our brains change their structure in order to accommodate that learning. But this in itself is a good news, bad news story. Let me explain. The job of neurons is to carry information throughout the body by way of the nervous system, and in the brain there's around 86 billion of them. Organised into networks, each one of them is connected to another 1,000 neurons. So you could imagine the possibilities for communication between brain regions are almost endless. Different regions of the brain, of course, have different functions, and these functions will occur in sequence or simultaneously as we perform activities of daily life. For example, you probably know how to make a cup of tea. You can do it while you think of something else, while you hold a conversation, while you make yourself a sandwich. Of course you can. But you weren't born with this outstanding ability. You learnt it. Well done. This learning is an example of neuroplasticity, brain regions that become connected through repetition, such that the activity becomes automatic. You have a tea-making program neuroplastically etched into your brain, and it will hold you in good stead throughout your tea drinking life. Now, imagine that someone moves the teacups from one cupboard to another. Your automatic pilot has been disrupted, but you manage to find the cup's new home and your tea is only slightly delayed. The next time you make a cup of tea, however, you automatically turn to where the cups used to be kept. Maybe you open the cupboard door and remember they've been moved. But you know where they are, so you just get on with it. The next few times you make a cup of tea, you continue to move instinctively to the cup's former home because you're still working to the old program. In time, you more reliably turn to where the cups are now stored, which means the program has been updated in order that you can continue to function most efficiently in your new environment. This, of course, is a very simplistic example of adaptive neuroplasticity. But this malleability of the brain has been vital for our survival as a species. For example, the ability to make tools and use them skillfully depends on a brain that can change its anatomy and its function in order to accommodate this learning. The same goes for being able to start fires and then refine that skill for speed and reliability. The same goes for the ability to discover rich sources of food and, importantly, find them again in the future.